Okay, good evening. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is Tuesday, September 30th, 2014, 7 o'clock p.m. We're in a little past. I apologize for that. And we're in the Selectman's office at Town Hall. And our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. You're invited to join us if you'd like. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Selectman Garmer is unable to be here this evening, so he won't be joining us. We will not hold anything up. Is there anybody here for public comment? Merle, anybody? No? Okay. So the first thing we'll do is Selectman update. Kevin?
On Sunday, several of us attended the George Ingram Park dedication. It was really, I'm sure the others may want to make a comment or two, but I gotta say, it was really impressive to see both governmental organizations, volunteers in town, as well as civic-minded citizens, as well as the entire Ingram family, come together and make possible a good, beautiful 21 acre park for the community. It's a project that took apparently 7 or 8 years or so. There's a lot of work that was done into it, and I think that the groups that were involved with the Cohasset Land Foundation, the Cohasset Conservation Trust, and the Cohasset Community Preservation, and there must be 20 or 30 or 40 or more individuals that worked very hard. The Eagle Scouts got together and built the paths along the tour, along the path in the park to make it even better. And so I just want to note that it was just a great example of civic engagement, and I had never had the privilege of knowing the Ozzie Ingram, but I sure wish I had. Everybody had some really wonderful stories to say about this man and his family, and so the park is there. It's right off of Norman Todd Road, and it was a great day, and it was very inspirational to see that the whole community come together on a project like that.
Terrific. You done?
I'm done.
Okay. Karen?
I would echo Kevin's comments on the event on Sunday. I sit as a director of the Conservation Trust, and there will be a conservation restriction coming before us soon, so I want to be very careful about what I say, but I think I'm pretty safe talking about the Eagle Scouts, and we've had 4 Eagle Scout projects that have built the property that the Conservation Trust now owns is like a horseshoe. And we've had scouts come in from the left and scouts come in from the right, and hopefully we're going to have a meeting in the middle one of these years. It's
pretty soon.
Pretty soon.
I hope so.
It's pretty tough land out there with Cap Briar, and we've had have some bridges built, and it's just wonderful that the young men come forward and are willing to volunteer and do this work for the community. And it's a great family oriented spot because it's not that long a walk. And there are a lot of very interesting interesting points of interest. That's good. Ledge outcroppings and different things that are left over from when the land was farmed. So it's quite a great thing. I also wanted to say that we did have last Wednesday evening the meeting for the abutters at the Jacobs Meadow. That also was a very productive meeting, and we had not only the abutters, we had about 20 different property owners represented there, as well as the regulatory agencies and the town officials. And again, it was a community spirit, the cooperation between the permitting boards and the project manager and regulatory people to come together to assist the property owners in the changes that our project is impacting on their properties. Madam Chair, for future, and Chris, I've had a number of inquiries regarding the dredging, so I think that although you've addressed it, it might be worthwhile at a not too distant meeting to maybe go into that a little bit further, and also some inquiries in regard to the dog park. So as we could have a update on that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Martha?
I was fortunate to know Ozzie Ingram very well. I worked with him in the schools. He was very active when I first came here. And he was so level-headed. He would just mull something over. And if there was a dispute, he poured oil on the waters. He was a very impressive member of our community. Also, I went to the Public Works Committee in Boston, and they were discussing ADA and on highways, making sure we have sidewalks and the ramps. And I guess there's money for that, and they're changing they have a new agreement coming out. We don't have it yet. And I particularly was interested in Chapter 90 money. Finally, after I guess 1 hour and 55 minutes, somebody said, aren't you gonna say something about Chapter 90 money? And my goodness, they're doing the same thing 20 years ago when I was on the committee. People want to make sure when they are in a project for Chapter 90 money, that they don't have to give back the funds if they're in the middle. They can, so they're having a bill or regulation, so we can keep it, because it doesn't make sense. If you're halfway through, you should be able to keep it, and the rest of the money and not pass it back. But that was the most of it. Now I've been watching all the stuff we have on filming in Cohasset, and in the past, when we had the Witches of Eastwick and other ones, we had a fee or a donation, and I don't know what the rules and regs now, or if we have rules and regs. I think that should be looked into. If nothing, and there was one other thing here. Oh, I noticed that everybody's been watering everything, and that the reservoir is very dry. And all the towns around are having outdoor watering bans, and I wondered if the water department is thinking about that. That's something we should think about. Although we are getting rain, we're not getting that much. And I don't know what the status of the water is, so something to look into. Okay, thank you.
Some redundancy. I'm sorry I missed the Ingram tour. I was out of state at an ultra marathon. I think there's a member of our audience who knows what that is. A couple of same things, Martha. We have had a number of requests to do filming in the community, and they have been sent our event policy, which does have an application fee of I think $250. However, it's a little different when you're doing a road race, you need a road closing and you're spending that money, or you're a big major motion picture.
Yeah.
So we absolutely need to put that on the agenda. A lot of other communities do some tiered fees, and so we really do need to get on top of that soon.
I think that was done. There was tiers, I know.
Yeah.
They had fees, but they then also gave a $25,000 donation to our church.
Right, and I think we need to have that conversation here and figure out how we want it, what kind of a policy. Usually when the phone's ringing, it means either the video or audio or something's quirky, so don't mind us what's going on.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the dredging, we will give an update. We'll try to give an update at our next meeting, because I've had requests as well, and we also reached out to Congressman Lynch's office to see if there's anything they can do. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, we had a federal grant. The Army Corps of Engineers was supposed to do dredging work of our harbor and start this fall, and there were no responses to the RFPs, to the request for doing the business, because there's a lot of other bigger major projects that took up the time of the few contractors on the East Coast that can do it. So at this point, we're on an expedited RFP program for next fall, but it's still a concern, because the channel's very narrow, and we're trying to find out what mitigation can happen, if any, should we get a big storm and it really become unnavigable.
Even without the storm, there are issues, as I think Steve had brought up a couple of weeks ago, with some of the fishing boats and also with the harbor masters.
Yep,
So-
it's a safety and an economic
High tide,
issues.
they come in.
So hopefully maybe we can even get somebody from, Congressman Lynch's office or something to help us understand a little bit about what the possibilities are, and we'll do that as soon as we can.
By the way, I saw him on TV.
He was good.
Yeah, lambasting the
So, Secret
the
Service.
Secret Service, and he was right.
He was absolutely right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stephen's a good man.
He's a good guy. And just because it's in our packets, just get everybody to, put on their calendar Tuesday, November 11th at 11 a.m. There will be an annual Veterans Day service at the, Veterans Memorial in Cohasset Harbor. And there's a lot of activities, that day to commemorate Veterans Day, and we'll have more information as we get going. Lastly, on the water, I was hoping Leonora would be here, but, and one reason I'm looking at my phone is I did hear from Aquarian, and they are likely to put another outdoor water ban in place sooner rather than later, so, but she was gonna send me information before the meeting, and I don't have it, so stay tuned.
Well, I took some pictures the other day to show to Chris, and it's really quite stark
In Cohasset.
in Cohasset.
Yeah.
And there's only one other time that I've seen the water that low, and we were within days of running out.
So we need to follow up with
Yeah,
our water
They're having
commissioners.
a meeting on Thursday.
Okay.
I mean, it's not our purview, but
Right.
just common sense would dictate that, maybe watering the lawns and things like that.
Fields and stuff.
Take it upon yourself to cut back.
Take the initiative.
And we have been designated a drought region, and unfortunately, we're gonna get a little bit of rain, but I don't think it's anywhere near what we need. If anybody's driven by the Situate, have you driven by the Situate, reservoir? I mean, it looks like a lunar
Ours is worse, Diane.
scape. Really?
Mhm.
No,
goodness.
it's very bad. I
Oh.
looked at it, very bad.
All right, I don't want Chris to miss the, Eagle Scout presentation. Are you waiting for anybody else?
No.
Okay, you wanna come on up? Up here, you can bring anybody you'd like, and, introduce yourself, and,
My name is Nick Rosen. I'm from 39 Ludwig Drive, Cohasset. I'm a junior at Cohasset High School, and I'm a junior assistant scout master within Troop 28, Cohasset. I'm here to propose my Eagle project, which will take place on town land in Wheelwright Park. The project will include the construction of a new kiosk for the Main Street entrance of Wheelwright Park. The previous kiosk, which was located at the trailhead, was destroyed by a winter storm. It was knocked over by a tree. It's completely unusable. I have some pictures I did submit to the office in
we don't
August.
have them yet.
So the first part of the project will include constructing a new kiosk, which will be identical to the one that is currently located at Forest Ave. The one at Forest Avenue also needs to be relocated about 6 to 10 feet to the right of where it is now, in order for emergency personnel to better access the park. And for both kiosks, there will be some basic landscaping done to the area around them, including some clearing of brush, and I was planning on putting a small rock border and maybe some mulch down to make it look nicer, and that will be uniform, so both kiosks will look exactly the same to the best extent possible. And the last part of the project will be performing some basic trail maintenance within the entrance of the Forest Ave trailhead, where there's been some overgrowth with brush.
Perfect. Thank you. You wanna introduce your,
This is Mr. Phil Lear. He's my Eagle advisor.
And Nick is the easiest eagle that I've ever worked with.
that's saying something.
It is, yeah, he's got a pretty straightforward project.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, one of the kiosks was destroyed. These kiosks were built, both ends of Wheelwright Park, on Forest Ave, North Main entrance, about 8 years, community service project through Jack Buckley in the schools by Pat O'Brien. And they stood up pretty well until this storm came through, and planted a couple of big pine trees on this one and nailed it, so, it'll make a great project. And as Nick mentioned, the one on the, Forest Ave entrance was put in a little too close to the gateway, so, the fire department had, asked me why it was like that. So, the suggestion was just to move it so that they can swing their vehicles and get in. The park is accessible all the way through with trucks. I've kept it pretty well open, but this'll, allow a place to people put up notifications and so forth on both ends, so. I'm sure Nick will do a good job, he doesn't need much help.
Great. It'd be important, are you gonna replace the map that was on it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Had you given any thought to relocating it, maybe pulling it forward a little bit, or?
The one at, North
The one,
Main?
the one in North Main, I'm sorry.
Well, there's a second one outside of that, the
Yeah.
picnic table's a smaller one, so we didn't wanna get it too close to that.
Yeah, that needs some attention too. There's a map in there, but there's more bugs than that.
Yeah,
So we should probably do something with that, but I was just thinking that, where the tree came right down on it, but I guess there really isn't another
well,
spot for
there's
you.
no more trees left to fall on it, I'm afraid. Well, it's right in the split of the road, right
Yep.
beyond the gates, so it's kind of an ideal location.
Yeah.
Go off either way when you go into the park on the trails, so it's kind of right in that.
I do see a lot of people still checking the other one that's down more by the entry of the driveway, so I think a lot of people miss that map that was there, and, I have heard a lot of people say that they get turned around and get lost in there, so you're very welcome to have the map back.
Part of the project will also include replacing the map slot for handheld paper maps
That was-
and
That was great,
restocking them.
that was really super.
Put a spot next to it for 50 cents for each map.
Sounds
Excellent.
reasonable to me.
Little can.
They were wonderful, cause they folded right up and you could slip them in your pocket, and they were really good.
Yeah, we've just republished those, that was an Eagle Scout project,
Right.
involving
Yeah.
making up those
Sad.
maps.
Oh, with one of the old.
With August.
Yeah.
Anderson.
August and boys, right?
Yep.
Martha, do you have any questions?
No, I walk there occasionally, I haven't lately, so I will, when it's constructed, I'll go through and look at it. I'm sure it'll be a wonderful job.
When you do the Eagle Scout projects, do you bring a group of friends to help you out, or other scouts,
Other
or?
scouts. Part of the idea of the Eagle Scout project is to demonstrate leadership. So part of the project is bringing in other scouts of varying ages, and they'll participate in the work.
Right, and you'll direct them and
Yes.
tell them what to do. That's terrific. Kevin?
I'm all set, thank you very much, it's an excellent project.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I kind of jumped in before,
That's
I
all right.
apologize. I just wanted to say that as sitting on the Conservation Trust, we certainly have benefited, as I was saying earlier, not only from that, but from other projects that other scouts have done. And I know that the town has benefited greatly from a lot of the projects. It's a super program, and everyone that's come in, and when I was on the board before and now, have been wonderful young men, and we thank the leaders for the guidance that they give them too. It's great.
Thanks very much.
I agree, I'm always so impressed when they come in, because sometimes I get nervous talking, and they come in and they're so poised, so thank you, I know it's not always easy. I think my only, suggestion is, I would love to find a program for girls that reflect, the kind of the Boy Scout.
It's out there, it's very
pursuits,
challenging.
yeah.
Any of the scout programs are with all the, athletics that are going on now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, one of the high school, Beth Marat at the high
Yes.
school has started,
Adventure
is it an adventure program?
Yeah, that's
So
a co-ed scouting
Great.
organization.
so hopefully that'll take off too, we can see some. Okay, yeah, so I'd look for a motion to, approve, Nick's, Rosen's Eagle Scout project.
So moved.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck.
I will need a signature as the town, as the beneficiary,
Okay.
benefiting organization. I don't know who that would come from.
Okay, do you wanna look at it, see if it's you or the board, or
The bottom left box.
let us know if you need any help.
Okay.
If you wanna sign it, you can sign it.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody can.
So I'm the beneficiary?
Yes.
what you're like to study?
I'm seriously considering pre-med.
Very good.
Very ambitious.
Oh.
Very ambitious.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Thanks, Phil. Thank Rob.
Nice job.
I always like that. That's the easy stuff. Okay, Cohasset Cable Television, budget review, et cetera.
Good evening.
Evening, I'm gonna ask that you all state your name and address for the record.
Okay,
I'm Pat Martin, 169 Linden Drive.
Paul Carlson, 18 Old Coach Road.
John Reinhold.
Thanks. But you spend more time here probably.
I do.
Yeah, exactly. That's
You'll
fine,
have-
we just can't put you on a committee.
You'll have a budget statement that we handed out, that was sort of a part of your package.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, Paul.
Just start off briefly looking where we are year-to-date versus the budget. Cable fees, I was trying to be very cautious in forecasting those because we had a major reduction in the percentage that's used to calculate the fees this year. And so far, we seem to be pretty much on target for that. Other income, we had a grant, which was unexpected, to help pay for some equipment. The interest income and sales of DVDs are small items. Overall, the revenues are in good shape, particularly with the advantage of the advent of the grant. Program expenses, the big one is the salary and other expenses for the studio director, this is 2/3 of the year, and that comes out to 67%, so that's about on target. We put in a rather large number for stipends and contractors last year because some of the equipment that we have is starting to go off warranty, and we're afraid that if we have any repairs, it would be our dime rather than the warranty. So far, we've been fortunate. We have not had much in the way of warranty charges or repair charges, and so that's why we've used so little of that allocation. Studio rental is, we pay that quarterly. That's right on target. Repairs and maintenance have also been very low this year. The supplies, the other items get smaller. So in terms of total program expenses, we've spent 60% of our budget so far through August 31.
Paul, what's the Verizon cable access expense?
We have a regular account with Verizon that covers our so we can check out things that are on the internet. So that's our phone service.
Oh,
That's
okay.
our
They don't give it to us free. You'd think maybe they would.
That's what I was, yeah,
But they don't.
okay,
it's the whole triple play that
right, that we all pay for.
I would think they'd have a reduction because you're community oriented.
You would
Do you have to
think.
pay the fees?
That's right.
Do you have to pay the fees
Oh,
of
yes,
cable?
yes.
That's so fun.
We're paying for ourselves.
Right, right.
Step that down as a,
Got it.
We get much more from Verizon than they get from us.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Who's the studio rental, who's that to? Who are we renting?
The schools,
The schools, that's
Yes.
paid to the schools?
yes.
money back to the taxpayers.
On the total cable fees, around 31 or 32% of that is from Verizon. The balance is from Comcast. If anybody's interested, the Verizon percentage has been slowly rising over the last couple of years. Administrative expenses, all of our insurance bills are paid in the spring, so that's, we spent that, pretty much spent that balance. I put in a 5% increase last year, and we had the insurance revenue, the insurance expenses were flatlined. I'm gonna stick with the $2,800 for next year. Legal fees. Did Rob leave?
Oh, no, he's hanging, he's still
Snuck
hanging
out.
around.
Continuing
There
to
it
tax
is.
classes.
He's got kids in college.
We've underspent so far.
Sounds was supposed designed to be.
Good work.
Started.
The audit, as you remember, last year you approved having a review rather than a full-fledged audit. That was $1,000 versus the $5,000 that was in the budget for a regular audit. I'm hoping we can continue that again through the coming year. The other expenses, it's a small item, but the reason it's so far above was once we got the 501c3, then as a government-controlled entity, we are able to, we are exempt from filing the 990s with the IRS. That takes some time and could be expensive and so forth. But you can file something called Form 8940 with the IRS and be exempt from the filing requirements. Since we're reporting to the Board of Selectmen rather than to the IRS, they view that as being equivalent. Right now, this is all being done on, the filing is being done on a volunteer basis, but I'm not gonna do this forever, and when I don't, we may be paying somebody to do the bookkeeping, and they're gonna charge extra for the review or for the, they would charge extra for filing a 990. So we've applied to be exempt from the 990 requirement. And that was a $400 charge to be exempt, to file, to be exempt from filing with them. But I think that's permanent. Because of the savings on the audit and the legal fees, we're about 48% of total administrative expenses year to date. Depreciation is simply allocated over the year, and our expenses are running at 60% of, total expenses are running at 60% of budget. So we have a nice little net income figure for the first 8 months. Any questions on 2014 before we go to 15?
Do you think you'll end up with a decent net income figure, just
Well,
assuming things track?
The big shortfalls, big expense shortfalls are the stipends and contractors if we continue to, and also the repair
To dodge the
figures.
bullets, yeah.
And if we continue to have good fortune there, fine. If you approve, other than that, on the administrative side, the insurance is done, the audit's done, the other expenses are done. I'm not anticipating anything else there. So I would expect that we probably have some net income figure about what we're showing here for
Yeah.
8 months or maybe a bit more.
Great.
And last year we did, because we've had such a enthusiastic response from students who want to be engaged in the program and assist, and we've done very well with the last 3, I don't know what Val would call them, the most active of the students, community residents have gone on to tremendous schools and decided to change their major into broadcast journalism. We added a scholarship last year, which we had a good time giving out, but that keeps the kids involved and makes them have to compete against each other because, like you said, we've got so many active kids that are so good. The scholarship really.
And have you heard about Bobby Nahill?
Oh, yeah.
Bobby, he was
So Bobby was one of the, I think,
Yeah.
one of your earlies.
one of the early guys who had a sports, what do they call it, CSBN?
Right.
You're right,
Yes, the
exactly,
sports
yeah.
network, and then he just got a gig as a reporter for the University of Southern California TV station, which is pretty impressive, so,
Yeah, he's posting pictures with the USC cheerleaders.
yeah.
Every Saturday, it's like, wow.
I
He's
taught him
doing okay.
I taught him CCDs.
And our second, before that, Andrew Fusement took an Emmy in the Massachusetts.
Yeah, he's now producing a weekly series at
Yeah.
BU. It's a really good-looking program,
Yeah,
too,
he's good.
called The Paper.
Yeah,
It's great, so, not only the Eagle Scouts, but
that's right. Another venue for kids to succeed.
that's
And we
terrific,
have more in the pipeline.
great,
Yes,
yeah.
we do.
Well, no further questions on 2014. Let me go through my thinking on 2015. I'm flatlining the cable fees for this year because we've had the lower percentage rate has been in force for about half the year, and so we have another half year to go through. I think we've benefited from some new developments in town, and there aren't very many major new developments coming on board right now. So, just to be cautious, I flatlined that at $127,000. You know, because of our good fortune with the contractors, stipends and contractors, I've reduced that. Other than that, studio supplies, we have not been using that account for the last couple of years, so I decided to cut that back down to $1,500. Part of what we've gone through here is we didn't really know what it's gonna cost to run a studio when we first set this up, and this is only the third year that we've been running it with real financials and all that sort of stuff. We really started, that started in May of 2012, and we really took over the financials of this. So I think we're learning as we go along here, and when I'm in an uncertain situation, I try to budget on a conservative basis, and I think now we can start looking to cut back some of the expense items. I talked about the insurance before, legal fees, been the same number from last year, because we really don't know what issues are gonna come up over the course of the year. Unfortunately, for the last couple of years, we have not had any major issues. Audit, I hope that you'll approve, that you'll agree to waive the requirement for a full audit and allow us to do a review again. I hope you were satisfied with the review that you received last winter. I don't expect anything major in other expenses again. Depreciation ratchets it up as we spend a little more money on CapEx each year. Don is asking for $8,000 for the coming year, for 2015. So we're still forecasting a rather small net income, but if any of these things go against us, we're gonna be at a loss.
Right.
We have the reserves to handle that, but I'd rather not do that.
The 8,000 capital expenditure what are you anticipating there?
Tom, do you wanna take that?
I mean, this more, equipment purchases. Some of our equipment's getting a little old. I do have a little engineering background, so we can keep some of the stuff rolling along, but at times when they go, and, you gotta move pretty quickly to replace them. We have 4 full-time editing machines working, like, they're working now. And one of them's limping along. Our Mac is, getting a little long in the tooth, and it's getting beaten. Nothing against Mac really, but, they don't handle that daily whacking, like we would like, so. But we're able to, transfer files, clean them, but eventually we know that'll go. We're looking to another editing computer, probably in the winter, once we see how much we're using the equipment. As I say, like right now, we're transferring files, computers are like slowing down. We did one at 4 o'clock today, I think, before I left, and I looked to see what it was at 6:30, and it was at 21%, so they're getting a little achy. So it's just,
And you're fully mobile too, because you're able to bring a camera and you taped the workshop last night.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fully mobile. We actually have a mobile production unit. And when we do this, it's also it's a risk, because things are going outdoors, multiple people are using them, cables are going across the road.
Throwing them in a car, or a truck.
They're in a
whatever.
car, they're in a truck, so they get humidity, they get wet, they get damp, they get cold. So those are the kinds of things we like to we don't like to forecast doom, but
Right.
it does
To plan
happen.
for
You gotta be
The more it's
prepared.
used,
Plan for
yeah, it's
doom.
like driving a car, you
Yeah.
eventually.
So, I'm gonna let all the members, ask any questions that they have, but just, what do we need to do tonight? We need to,
We have to approve our budget for 2015.
the 15, and you're working on a calendar fiscal year,
That's correct.
okay?
And then, under the terms of the operating agreement between the town and CCTV, we're required to do an audit each year.
Right.
Last year, we discussed doing an audit every 3 years and doing a review the other 2 years. This would be year 2.
For the
And
review.
so, the other thing we'd like to ask you to do is to waive the audit requirement, and we'll
Okay.
give you we'll give you a review.
You want us to do that tonight as well?
And while we're
Okay.
here, yes.
Sure.
When is the audit done, when it is done?
Well, it'll be done sometime in the spring. I mean,
This spring?
it's a December 30th fiscal year. And so, whenever the auditor gets to it. The review they did very quickly. The time they did an audit, it took a long, long time.
Right, so then when it's done, you have that available, is that sent to us or on the website
Yes,
or
the
whatever?
review was sent
You
out.
probably put it on the website, don't you?
I don't
We
think
sent,
so.
we sent you a little booklet that was,
Well,
you know.
Kevin wasn't, you weren't on the board.
Oh,
but,
that's right, sorry.
But we had everybody, all the members and Chris got a copy of the
Oh, we get a
review.
copy of the audit?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you have any other questions?
No, it looks good to me.
Karen?
No, I'm all set.
Martha?
I have none, I think this is very comprehensive, and
Okay.
very good.
So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve CCTV's 2015 budget.
So moved.
There's a second?
Excuse me, okay, well, in approving it, we're also approving, so we don't have to do it twice, we're approving the audit being.
No, that'll be a second.
You wanna do
motion.
that separately?
Yep, please.
That's fine.
All right, so is there a second?
Second?
Thanks, Karen. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Budget passes. And then a motion to waive the requirement of a full audit for their FY14.
So moved.
Second?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
Thank you
Done.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Good.
And
Not
Merle,
quite.
we get to
I gotta make
introduce himself.
Oh, Merle.
I
Okay.
can't go without mentioning.
You have to,
No, I
can you
think I
give us your
mentioned
name
to
and
Diane,
your address, please, sir?
there is two,
Name and address.
oh,
Merle Brown.
I don't know where it is.
Something
Situate, no, 546 Beecher Street, Cohasset.
Got it, thank you.
Mel Brown. There's two committees, the Cable Advisory Committee and the Cable Community Television Corporation Board of Directors.
Mhm.
I'm on the one advisory committee. I
Right.
don't know whether that was a mistake, or whether you didn't do that, or you don't want me on there, or what, I just wanna clarify that. And I'm sure Pat can straighten it
Well,
out.
we've had some confusion before where both, there's the advisory committee that was put in place originally to, negotiate the contract and hear cable related needs from citizens. That brought us into, we negotiated both contracts in 2009 with Verizon and Comcast. But in taking those Comcast and Verizon contracts, then we had to establish the entity, which is the nonprofit organization, as according to their regulations, that it be a separate entity from the Board of Selectmen. Although, as you know, we've got an operating agreement in place that we honor and give you the oversight, as well as the appointment of all members on both the advisory committee, which there's been discussion in the past of whether it's still a necessary entity or not, but the CCTV has to be in place as the board of directors to receive the cash. So, I know in the past, it's like, okay, we'll put everybody in CCTV, then, oh no, wait a minute, they're the same people as CCTV, we bring people back and forth, and Merle is our newest member, so I think when Merle was brought on, he was voted in or appointed by you to the committee,
Right.
but not to the board, right,
Right.
Merle? So he needs to be appointed by you to the board so that we can then notify the state that he's a board of directors members.
Okay, and is there any, I don't wanna do that tonight only, but I will check on it, just because
Sure.
we've spent hours,
Understand.
especially with Carol, the clerk, I just wanna make sure your bylaws allow X number of members, that kind of thing. Find out what the terms are, so that when we appoint him, we can send him out a term sheet and say, congratulate, cause we had to reset you. We just set you for the
Right, for the
committee for a
advisory.
year, just because
It only runs a year. We found.
on the advisory,
Yeah.
okay, that's what it was, so we reset that. So, I'll look into that and, we'll bring that up going forward.
Just one last plug, cause I know I can read Merle's mind, we wanna remind people
Remember.
that we still have spots available.
We
and
still need people, so I can get out of the treasury, secretary.
if people are dying to get involved in town, we have opportunities
Find some
on.
people out there that wanna be on the board.
I think it would be an exciting committee to serve on, so
It's
consider
the
it.
hotbed of,
The pay is good too.
Hollywood and Cohasset, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Just last week, I think it was, I was mentioning that I continue to get comments from individuals who have difficulty hearing Chris, and I think it's because, there's a mic there and a mic there.
It was moved.
Oh, yeah, we moved it
Oh, we
last
moved
week.
it.
We moved it
I
last
didn't
week.
even notice that it got
Okay.
moved.
They got
Just
flipped
2
from
feet
that,
closer.
they got flipped from there to here.
That's why the phones were ringing, they were saying they
Cause it
couldn't
has to be
find
over
it
the,
here.
it has to be over the speaker table too, so.
And we wanna
Where did it
remind,
get moved from?
It was one panel over on the other side,
Oh,
so it was
okay.
flipped
So
all the way
it's,
across.
so it's
So that-
closer. Never mind and thank you.
but we do
No, it's
wanna,
okay, you're
Karen,
welcome.
you made a good point, we do wanna remind folks, because there are still people like me who have a house full of aging televisions and different bedrooms and stuff that, like mine and my bedroom has the old box and it's not as up to speed, it's not new, so it gets lousy sound, but if I go into my living room where my new stuff is, I get great sound. So think about that or call the company, cause it isn't always our equipment, it might be that you are trying to, like me, limp along with an old television. That's
Yep.
not fully.
We've had Comcast and Verizon, we speak to them almost on a bi-weekly basis. Comcast more than Verizon, because Verizon's all fiber optic, and Comcast changes to copper. And we have updates from them, we have direct numbers to the engineering now. That, the minute we hear a complaint, we call them and say, what's up? One time an elbow had hit the channel 22, it was about a month ago, the school committee. The engineer in Weymouth hit a cable and shot out channel 22. Verizon was working great, but
But we're sending out a clear signal.
our signals are very to the right cutting edge of the levels they're supposed
I
to be.
didn't mean to be criticizing.
Oh, no,
No, you
no,
made a good
no,
point.
we don't
Just
take it that way,
so where
we
to
hope
direct
people
their
call the
calls.
cable company. Because it could be an individual street, it could be one telephone pole gets hit and it
We have
knocks
that
out an
too.
amplifier and the whole street goes down, everybody else is watching it.
Right,
Oh, no, it's great, fine.
yeah,
Fortunate,
But we
I
get
haven't
the
had
call.
any complaints.
Yeah.
that's right.
Good.
Great, thank you all very much.
Thank
you.
Appreciate it, and thanks for being with us last night,
Yeah.
Don.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, next up is, Cole Grand and Colonel Edward Graham. They're gonna discuss, Veterans Council and the November Veterans Summit.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm Colonel Ed Graham, 715B Jerusalem Road in Cohasset. We're here to talk to you about the veteran. I wanted to officially notify you of our third year of having a Veterans Forum here in the town of Cohasset. I started working 3 years ago with Joe McElroy when he was a Veteran Services Officer. And we realized that one man is just not enough. I'm a retired officer, but I had the time and interest, and so I called myself the Cohasset Assistance Group or volunteer group to help out where we can. So we started off that year, before you arrived, sir, with the bringing to the town's attention a need for a covenant for our town. Most of the North Shore has covenants through the State House. They accepted our explanation, we went ahead, we prepared the covenant, it was approved. And so that brought Cohasset into the near time because it was the first town on the South Shore to have activated a covenant, which is nothing more than an understanding between the selectmen and the officials in this town and their recognition of veterans and what we have done. Secondly, we then asked for your permission to have a Veterans Council, that was a Veterans Forum, that was downstairs in the main hall. That year was a learning year because we had some difficulties just getting the word out. I worked for several months with Coral because most of our veterans are now seniors, like myself, and so when you're trying to appeal to the veterans, there's so many of them some don't watch TV anymore, some don't read a newspaper. But we didn't let that deter us. So after the first one downstairs, I think we had about 150 people there. We went to work to try to do a better job identifying who the veterans were with the support of the Elder Affairs and their veterans. We sat there with then Vinnie, before Vinnie came in, Vinnie Fontaine. He's not here tonight, I apologize, his daughter had a school activity. So, as you know, that's important.
That's very
But we then had the second board, which was at St. Anthony's Parish Hall last year, and we had about, I think, 21 or 22.
We had about 25 organizations, and we had roughly 150 veterans attend that. And the great thing about that was, we had other people watching what happened the year that we did it just by ourselves. And we had 9 towns, in total come to us, or actually 8 towns plus ourselves, come to us and say, can we join with you? We like what you did, and we'd like to be part of that. So that was this past year. And this year, we have 15 towns that have, that are all together this year on the South Shore doing this Veterans Forum. We have 28 organizations already, and one of the reasons that we decided, because one of the things that we wanted to do was to rotate this, and we felt that this would be a strength. We are going to rotate it, but we decided to do it this year and possibly next year. But what we wanted to do was to engage the other towns who participate more so, because last year it was really the Coral and Ed show, and that's not our goal. And so we have put different requirements on the towns. If they want to participate with this organization, then they need to offer up volunteers, they need to help with the food, they need to do this and this. So they've been very active. We've been having planning sessions for the past 2 months, and so everybody seems to be on board. The organizations are rolling in, and one of the best things that I think that's going to happen this year that makes it different from other years is we have at least 8 employers who have contacted us and said they want to be part of this. So we're going to take one of the breakout rooms at St. Anthony's and have it just as an interview room. So people can actually interview for positions on the spot. So that's one of the things that's always been lacking in this. The goal of this has always been a work day. It's not for a lot of speakers and that kind of thing. This is a work session. And that's one of the great things about all of the organizations coming together, because it matches veterans together with what it is that they need in order to be more successful and more independent as they return from service. The other thing that we're really excited about is we have the Lions Club that will be doing visual examinations. We have the Veterans Mobile Center that will be doing probably superficial psychological evaluations. We have the entire Veterans Administration and all of their resources at our disposal that day, and they're going to be doing complete physicals on people, and so this is really good. We also have Carlos Arredondo, who has, he was supposed to come last year, but somebody gave him Red Sox tickets, and just, he decided to go there, so I don't know why he made that choice, but
And
he
last
did.
year, that meant something.
Yeah, I know. So we do have his commitment that he'll be part of this organization this year. So we're really excited about it. So it's just,
We located also our officials like Headland and Bradley and Senator Lynch. We sent them just a little note to say it's our day on that Saturday from 9 to 1. It's before Veterans Day. So that's why I picked that day, and St. Anthony's Hall happened to be open. So we think we're going to have a great turnout this year, and I hope that it meets with all your requirements. And we look forward to doing it again.
and we hope you'll stop by if you have an
Oh,
opportunity.
absolutely.
It was great. I went
Covered
by
all the-
last year and it was very well attended. A lot of useful, very useful booths and information that could be gathered. It was,
And
Pretty
having those
impressive.
5 classrooms there was outstanding, because we were able to do an awful lot, especially in including the women veterans that are,
Right.
and we don't have many here in our town, but those classes were available. This year, we're gonna do a better job of announcing them as they come through the door, so they'll see it, and they'll know exactly what
right.
time they're gonna be.
I didn't go to one of those. I'd heard about that by the time I got there, and they were talking about that those classrooms were useful because they could get some
Definitely.
individual attention and they could get some
Some
real learning
privacy
and
too.
privacy. So that was a very good component, and the booths are just full of information. State agencies, organizations that really reach out and provide benefits to veterans that they don't know that are available to them, and it's a wonderful, warm, good reach out for these people. So that's good.
We decided to be more specific this year, so we have a breakout session just on aid and attendance,
Yeah.
one just on chapter 115. My daughter actually works for Senator Tarr, and she's doing the Valor Act Part 1, Part 2. Part 2 hadn't been passed last year, so she only did Part 1. So this year we can do the entire package. that if you're familiar with any of it, you know that that piggybacks on the other, and it just expands benefits that weren't able to be passed the first time.
That's right.
And then the women's veterans, and then a couple of other specific issues to veterans. One of the reasons that Elder Affairs is so involved in this is because this is just one more program of the 34 whatever programs, number of programs that we do. But one of the things that we see is that the older veteran is so different than the younger veteran. We almost have two different populations. You have the person who served a long time ago, they don't ask for help. They don't know about it. They haven't been on the internet. They don't go to all of these sessions and all of this. So it's really important when we can pull people from the community, people see this on TV, this is so important to them. It really is. So that's one of the main reasons that we're involved, because
Is there transportation assistance provided to these?
absolutely, we have 2 vans running that day, and we're publicizing it both, in the office and also in the monthly newsletter.
So if someone wants to take advantage of that, who do they contact? The Elder
The
Affairs?
office,
So
yes,
they
we'll
contact them
schedule
and get
all.
transportation for this event?
Absolutely.
Plus, we have that nice big parking lot at St. Anthony,
Yeah.
so
It's
we
nice
can
and
really put a
flat.
lot of cars in there, and that works out very well.
So,
Good.
My third point, unless there's any questions on that, is I'm just dropping off to you tonight. I wrote a draft on the veterans, requirement for a Veterans Council document or forum. I knew there was some interest in this, and so this is simply my effort to put forward to you some of the ideas on whether, if we want to, the town wants to put in a council,
Thank you.
this would be the basic needs. What I went to is I went to Braintree, and I worked with some towns on the North Shore, and all of them mostly already have a council. We don't have here one in Cohasset. But for the selectmen's consideration, this document is simply my idea of what it would comprise, the number of people, and some of the bylaw requirements, and I've extracted those from across the town, the state of Massachusetts, so I'm very clear on those, and of course the Valor Act is something that supports this, and I'm simply leaving this tonight for you. I know your schedule is tight, but I did wanna drop off a copy of my first draft.
Thanks for doing this. The only thing that I noticed right off the bat was that the VSO wasn't included. Is there, or as an ex officio, is that something
It
that?
should be.
Oh,
It's
maybe
not.
I.
It should have been, because
should have been.
the whole purpose of the,
I might have missed it.
Yeah, he has to be one of the members.
Okay.
Who's the Fontaine?
Well, we're not discussing this
Okay,
evening, right?
yeah.
Anyway,
Well, it's on the
so
agenda, so we can ask some questions on this. We're not gonna vote
Sure,
on it, but
sure.
I think it's.
if it isn't in here, I'll make sure because it wasn't
Yeah,
there.
and the only other thing just that we'll do before we get you on another agenda to finalize and
Sure.
hopefully approve this if the board wants to do so, I would like to just have Chris maybe run it by town council, only because different, there's state law that guides how committees and appointed boards are to be comprised, so I don't
Right.
wanna do anything that doesn't, or that that has any conflict there, but other than that, obviously.
That's a very good
great
point,
work.
because like in Braintree, they have 20 members. In Hingham, they have 13.
Right,
So every town is different in the
right.
composition of the people, and that's something we can
Right.
certainly discuss in the
And
future.
one little thing, like the thing about missing meetings, which is very important, but there's a bylaw in the town that talks about that, so.
Okay.
And the
That's
question
what-
is, can a committee under that create their own more stringent requirements? So
Okay.
we'll deal with all of that.
One of the reasons we brought this was because we weren't really sure of the process,
Yeah.
but we wanted to start the process. So that's why you all are receiving this.
Okay, on this, the process on this could be very beneficial. What I wanna see though, is we have the American Legion is very active in this town on a number of these
The VFW,
items in the VFW, and a number of items that are listed in here. It also calls for contributions from those organizations as well. So, in producing this, I would wanna see you make sure that you go to those organizations, work with them, get their approval
Okay.
and understanding that they agree to be, council is good. So that ideally, because they're so entrenched and they do a number of these functions,
Mm.
I don't think I need to tell you,
No.
you still have some nerves, yeah, okay, yeah. So we wanna be very careful in that area, because there's a lot of pride and work that's being done already. So that if we were to come back with a proposal for a council like this, I'd wanna see at the table also the American Legion and the veterans,
Fair
you
enough.
all sitting here in a united way saying that we, all the veterans organizations in this town do wanna have a council, and this is it. So it needs to be unified for this to be effective, I
Perfect.
believe,
I
okay?
think that's a great
And I know Karen has a question, but just on that, it may be, if it's a town-sanctioned Board of Selectmen appointed committee, you may not be able to ask for money, so we'll figure that all out. We may wanna talk about creating something separate outside of
like a
here.
501c3 or something
Exactly,
like
but
that. Yep.
we'll get there, and actually, you don't even need 501c3 status for some membership organizations, but
Okay.
we'll try to help you out a little bit, and
Okay.
Karen has some
I'd
questions.
be
I-
available whenever you'd like to see us.
I share Kevin's concerns in reading it today. We have a system that appears, and it doesn't appear, we have a system that works really well right now, and Vinnie Fontaine is a great VSO, has accomplished a lot. So I would like to see exactly how you envision this working with all the groups working cooperatively
Okay.
together. I am not one who likes to just do new things for the sake of doing new things or because other towns do them. Having said that, I also do believe that it's important to plan for the future. So the people that we have in place now may not always be in place.
We are getting older.
Speak for yourself, Ed. But that's a big concern of mine, is that
Understand.
individuals have worked for many years, long and hard, and do a good job, and I want in no way for this to be any way a reflection on what they have done or what they might do in the future. And it is, as Kevin stressed, it's extremely important that everybody be involved in this and come together to promote it, not just from the outside.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, and I think this is a wonderful organizational tool too, and it just strengthens the veterans organization at Cohasset. That's what it's designed to do.
And I also, before I started writing this, I did go to the American Legion and to the VFW. I'm the adjutant of the VFW, so I've already briefed my board on the fact that we're gonna start this process.
Great,
So,
thank you. Martha
but we
has a-
will.
Yeah, I think this is good, it's like an umbrella organization.
Yes.
And I note here that you have, any member that misses 3 posted meetings in 1 year shall be considered to have automatically resigned. So, you've
Ed
thought
was
of
in a
that
really good
already.
mood that day.
Well, to be honest, I took the language in support of the other towns, especially Braintree. They have a very well-structured one, and I know him personally, so they have this in effect there, so I thought, well, we should start with that. And then if we need to amend or soften that, we
Yeah.
could certainly do that.
Okay, well, you've done all your homework.
It has to be made up of people with a commitment.
Yes, that's
I mean,
true.
that's one thing I'd like to say is that we brought the covenant, that I don't know if any of you recognize this, but we brought the covenant with us this evening. And the covenant was passed by the Board of Selectmen February 15th of 2011, which was the parent of the Veterans Forums that we have, and it's the parent of the reason that we would have a document like this. And the only person who is sitting here this evening who signed this is Karen Quigley. And Karen, I just wanted to say to you that I remember your comment to me. It really rang true. You said you don't want this to be another document that is signed and it's on the shelf gathering dust. And that's one of the things that we try to do every single day, is to make sure that we support the veterans and we just keep going with all different kinds of support services. And the Veterans Council is just one more of these. The Veterans Forum is one, and we have a few other ideas up our sleeves. But I really took that to heart, because you're absolutely right. We don't need another document that's just signed and put on the shelf. It is on the shelf, but it's a very active document. So I just wanted to thank the selectmen again for having the foresight to sign this document.
Great.
So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you
to
very
see
much.
you.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Good
See you on
evening.
November 8th.
Yes, we'll be there.
Take care.
So on some of the committees, I think we're gonna, to the extent that we can with special town meeting coming up, and a lot to do, I'm gonna try to add a couple little committee things so that, cause we are in a very good shape with most of the committees, and I'll talk a little bit about the workshop last night in a minute, but, one committee that is still, needs to be filled out is open space, and we have one, application from Lizzie Good. She could not be here tonight, she had a commitment in Boston, but, you know, I think Karen knows her, if you wanna say any words about her, but I would.
No, I don't know Lizzie. I
No?
was looking forward to meeting her in person. We've talked on the telephone. Lizzie has shown an interest in becoming involved in town government. I think last year was the first year she applied. We didn't find a home for her at that time. And I contacted her. I think she last year expressed an interest in 3 different committees, and one of which was open space. And when I contacted her this year, she was very excited that there was an opportunity and that we had remembered that she was interested.
Great.
So that's
Good.
an important thing for us to keep in
Terrific.
mind, that people, we can't just put aside people who are interested. She was very proactive. I gave her the information of where to go on the state site to learn about what the Open Space Committee was. She did her homework. I don't think she's had an opportunity yet, but she does plan to come in and look at the master plan, the Open Space and Recreation Master Plan, which, although it's quite a volume, at some point it would be really nice to get that up on the website.
Yeah, I wanted to take it home and read it, and I was told it wasn't to leave the office, but
I had a copy, but DeCaroff now has it, so.
okay. And I think what I said to Lizzie too is that I would love to have that committee in its current incarnation come in and just talk to us and give us a little update and try to give them some energy and support.
I think it would be important for them with the appointment of Lizzie. There are 3 people. So I think that we might encourage them to have an initial meeting and meet one another.
Yep.
Before we ask them to come in and
Absolutely.
talk with us. But she's very excited, and we need that enthusiasm in all our committees, but especially on this one.
Okay, so is there a move to appoint Lizzie Good to the Open Space and Recreation Committee?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Welcome aboard, Lizzie. And then, we have Jason Souls, who's in the audience, if you wanna come up and introduce yourself,
Sure.
who has applied for the one open spot on the OPEB committee. And I know you've done your homework.
A little bit. Started.
You wanna introduce yourself?
Jason Souls, 396 Jerusalem Road.
Jason, I'm just interested in how you developed an interest in the committee and how you came to apply.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's, you know, as I thought about this topic, it's one that I think a lot of people would probably try to avoid being involved with. It's obviously not it's not kind of a winning or a fun topic to deal with, and I think the fit for me, as I thought about a way to, in a way, you know, get my toe in the water. I'm 2.5 years here. I promised myself I'd listen and learn for 2 years to how things run in town, and then I wanted to start to get involved. So this seemed like a good way to start, and then my background and my career is working operational effectiveness and efficiency with large corporations, and I see lots of debates and work through situations similar to this in the private sector, but in sort of looking at the benefit side of the equation and the trade-offs between employees and the corporation. So
Great.
it seemed like an opportunity to
Super.
try to help out.
Does anybody have, Martha, do you have any
I'm
questions?
just curious when you graduated from Colby College.
93.
I had several children and grandchildren. I don't know when.
We figured out he was there when my brother was there, but.
Yeah.
And we're related. We have to just tie
We
back
are
to the Souls
related.
relationship here of somehow.
Really?
So it's
Souls, yeah, just a little,
Soul-
Martha and I have, well, we think of marital, right,
Yeah,
cousins.
way back.
Martha must be related to everybody.
not really.
So, knowing you were coming, I have an article I wanna give you, which is called Retiree Healthcare, the brick that broke municipalities' backs, which somebody gave me, so.
Great.
Some bedtime reading. Okay.
Got somebody else handed me another one. It's the retiree healthcare costs are straining budgets in the state's poorest cities. And it's a new, just came out on the 22nd. So it was
good.
The committee's
Getting-
made a
getting
lot of,
new
yeah,
reading.
the committee did a lot of work last year, and I, in many ways, a lot of their work is kind of finishing up, because the town needs to start making more, and Chris can probably, cause I don't remember every specific, but we have set aside money already in our budget, and we'll continue to do that. It's small, with a $38 million liability.
It's small, but it's a lot over a short period of time, too.
Absolutely,
So
and
I think
it's-
it shouldn't
and
be,
it's-
diminished.
No, absolutely, I didn't mean it by that.
No, I know
It
you
was just
didn't,
really a
but I just-
step in the right direction, so. With that, I will entertain a motion to appoint Jason Souls to the
So
OPEB.
moved.
Second.
Okay, any other questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jason.
Jason,
Welcome
welcome to
aboard.
town government.
Thank you.
Now, with that done, have we placed everybody who's applied to be part of any committee?
Nope, the only person that's left is Mark Parsons.
Okay.
And,
Why don't we see if he's interested in cable? Cable seems to need somebody. They were
he's
asking for
not.
people. Oh, he's not?
yeah, well, he wasn't when I
Is
spoke
he
to him.
interested in open
Yeah.
space?
You
he
found
may
out
be.
already?
That may be a place for him. He was anxious, and I don't wanna talk about somebody that's not here, but when I last spoke with him, we were hoping to get him on Economic Development Committee, but that committee needs a lot more than one
I
person.
thought with, for open space, I'd
Okay.
have to
So
pursue it,
we can
remind
talk about that,
myself.
but he's still out there. I get in touch with him
You-
every
you
couple
can-
weeks and just kinda
Right.
keep him in
And
the loop.
anybody who applies to be part of a committee or anything, comes to our board, that continues to be up. So we see everything that goes on in there.
And the application's still on the homepage, so anybody
Yeah, I saw it
can,
there,
you
yeah.
know,
Good.
still, if you're interested, because, to Karen's point, that's how Lissy, she was there last year. We gotta carry them forward. Go ahead.
Have there, could we get an updated list? Carol Hedberry, the town clerk, had done a list for us of all the appointments with the, and I think we've made some appointments since then. Even electronically is
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, I can ask her, you can ask her,
I mean, I can ask her if that's okay.
You can always ask her.
Alright,
It's a list of what, all the appointments that have been made?
well,
just kinda where we're at and
and
what the committee roster is.
and who's coming up, who, who
Could
might
that
be-
be sent to us all if you get that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You request it? Whoever's requesting.
You can
Chris,
go,
why don't
you
you
can go to the webpage, committee by committee if you want.
Yeah, but she was able with that new software.
Yeah, she should be able to spit out lists.
Yeah,
that
if you could
Yeah.
ask her to do that, just to give us kind of an update on all the committees and where they stand.
She's been able to tweak the font better. You had asked a question about things that could be reported there, and she did say yes. But she was in the process of configuring, so we'll see how far they've been able to come on the configuring of the software. There was a question, and I forget what you had asked, but there was, it could be done, it just wasn't ready.
Right. Okay, good.
So, just really briefly, I do want committees to keep appearing on our agenda, because
Yes.
I think we're all on the same page about making sure that nobody slips through the cracks, that we continue to keep the conversation going, that we get the committees up and running. There's some committees that are totally on autopilot, there are others that need a little injection of energy, and it's probably would make sense for us to invite some semblance of the committee after they've had a chance to kind of get acclimated in this current year, to come before us and just have conversations, see where they're going, and see
Good idea.
what we can do to help them out. On that, one of those committees that I have had probably 6 emails on in the past week relating to the dredging in particular, or that was kind of the impetus for the reach out, is the harbor committee. So I think maybe, Chris, if you could talk to Lori and maybe she could come in a couple weeks and talk to us about forming that committee. There's a few
No,
people on it, but I think they're missing like 3 or 4 members. That's my understanding.
And no
I don't-
chair, they have no chair.
Yes, they do.
Oh, they do now, well, they did.
Okay.
I believe they do.
Well,
I don't
that's,
think so.
so I could be, if I'm mistaken, I apologize.
Well, no, I mean, I could be mistaken.
My understanding was the yacht club
Yeah, the
didn't
last
have a
report-
rep, and
The last report I had gotten is that it hasn't met in some time.
It
No,
hasn't been
no,
years.
No,
And as a matter of fact, it's specific to the dredging. I had asked some time ago prior to your arrival, to have the same information that was, cause I'm liaison to it, to have the same information sent to the members of the committee that was provided to the Board of Selectmen, and I don't believe that was ever done. So they've been the members of that committee have been in the dark about this process, and that, really should be rectified,
I wanna rectify that.
prior to your arrival.
I don't know that there's actually any, everyone's term would have expired long ago.
There was
Hang on, I
one
just
left,
looked this
I
up
think.
today.
One
Well, I
left.
think the people that are on it are fairly dedicated to it.
So there's, right now there are 4 people. Fran Collins expires in 2015, Adam Donovan, who is a commercial fisherman, Dan Martin, a recreation, commission representative, and Mark Rattenberry, who's a citizen at large.
Peter Wood has done that.
No, he was running.
No, he didn't.
Did we just appoint him?
I believe he did, he keeps.
Anyway,
think
we
you know,
need
you-
to, we need to,
I'll speak with Lori and we'll come back.
we need to
'cause I
figure
had
out
gotten
where it
some-
stands and.
Several community members had approached me too about recharging the committee and getting it more energized, so.
I think too, there's some confusion because the harbor master, whoever that is there the ex officio. For some time, it was considered the harbor masters committee, but it really isn't the harbor masters committee.
Okay, let's put that on the fast
Yep.
track to resolve, and if there are people on it, and then we wanna make sure they're on it and doing something. The other thing, I just wanna, thank everybody for last night's committee workshop, which I think was, very good, very well attended,
Very
more
well
important
attended.
than anything,
I think several people were commenting, is it going, wow, standing room only. It was,
Very good.
it was really good.
And, just one clarification, because, I had, somebody had asked me about this last week, and I looked it up, but, one thing that wasn't, we were talking about the appointment process for chairs, and the one committee that by bylaw operates differently is the advisory board. They do their chairman, elections in December, per Cohasset town bylaw, which is unusual, and nobody spoke up last night, so I just wanted to clarify that. Troika made, 2 appointments, Eric Seuss, who was one of the guys that was in limbo for a while, trying to find a home. He is now the 9th member on alternative energy. So that committee is full, and they're really going gangbusters, as I've said before. And he was there last night, and couldn't have been happier to be participating, so thank you, Eric. Susan Franklin was, added as an associate member of the capital budget committee. There's a little gender diversity.
I'd like to tell you that for 5 years, years ago, I was on the capital
Thank you.
budget committee.
You're a
We had-
trailblazer, Martha. Thank you for setting that path. They had gone astray, but we've got another
Yeah,
woman on there. And then Susan Holdley was added to the design, review board, which is another committee that we probably should at some point, talk about offline.
Is it possible, I don't know if it's appropriate either, but for those of us who don't know individuals, it would be nice to get their resumes or some kind of information on them.
Sure. Do you have them handy? Do you know?
I don't know
I
that
can
I got-
send them. I have the, we got them sent out last.
I don't
So-
remember these names.
I'll pull them.
Okay. So just
I'll
the
myself.
2,
Actually,
Susan's
three.
fairly familiar because she's been involved in other things,
Yeah, but the other
Eric
two-
Seuss and
Franklin,
Susan Franklin is
okay.
are new and.
Eric Seuss we got because he applied to a whole bunch of committees, so you might even have it
Oh,
if you still
okay.
have your materials.
Yes, of course I do.
Yeah, I don't have it.
So then maybe it would just be Susan, if you could
Just
send that to
Susan
me.
Franklin, yep.
Thank you very much, Tracy.
Okay. All right. So that is it for now. We're not so far off track. Chris, at 8:00, I had listed next on the agenda, the Community Innovation Challenge grant.
I can just take one of those and pass it along. So, the actual budget that we had joined on a little earlier this year, which Mary is in the process of plugging numbers into and getting ready to launch, when the folks that come to talk to us, they said that they were hoping to do, virtual budget 2.0, and they're gonna be applying for a community innovation challenge grant with all the communities that are willing to participate. Doesn't cost us anything, except that we'll be part of the original group and we'll get all the upgrades that take part, that happen. So, I'm gonna recommend that the board vote to, and this is just a quick synopsis of their projection. They haven't finished their application yet. They're expecting to request about $120,000, which should get them to phase 2. And again, theory being, of course, if this gets popular, this will become a statewide product, much like some other things that have happened. But we'll be on the ground floor. So, I would ask that you vote to support the grant application, and I'll make sure you get copies of the final documents. It doesn't bind us to anything, by the way. It just,
So what do we would be one of the,
We'd be one of
those that are applying,
we'd be one of the we'd be one
along
of
with
the committees.
Arlington and the others,
Yes.
to get this phase 2, $120,000 grant, and that's from the state,
And Arlington would run it. Arlington's running the project.
as those, and that's from the state?
Yes.
It's a state grant,
Correct.
in order to encourage improved budgeting, forecasting, and so on.
The phase 2, and again, it describes a little bit more in here, what would make it more, the program a little more robust, allow us to do more things that it already does.
How many communities?
I believe they have 6 or 7 right now, and I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but Andy and I have not had a chance, we've exchanged a couple of emails, and the court who's been,
See the guy
leading
that
this.
came in to
She-
see us?
Yeah,
Oh.
his name is escaping me. Andy's been the lead. He was a former selectman, I think, or finance committee member,
Right.
or she's the selectman or finance
The
committee
capital
member.
budget,
Yeah, and they're also IT people, so,
Yeah.
it's funny, when I was at the, ICMA last week, 2 weeks ago, sometime, there were a lot of private sector, products that were out there that looked a lot like this for a lot more money.
I
So,
bet.
it was nice to see, and I said, oops, I said, we already have this.
So where are we in our,
I have to, Mary's away
Usage.
for a couple days,
Yeah.
so she's been working to implement it,
Mhm.
and she's just, it's one of those things, it's just a time frame, just
Mhm.
putting data in and making it work. So I think she had one half done that, she had either all the revenues or all the expenses, I don't remember which side. And she
we
put the
have the
others-
software, so.
Yeah, we're
just
plugged in, there's a
not
there's a
doing-
private website that hasn't been opened up yet, so once that happens, there'll be a link from our website, and it'll be available to take a look at. So it'll have, obviously, the current budget and past, not going forward, because we don't have that in there yet, so. But it'll all be up there, so she's working on that, and I hope fairly soon, but I'll keep you posted, so. But I'm gonna ask, if you're willing, I'd recommend that you support the application, I can then notify them of that, and they'll add Cohasset to the list of people supporting the Community Innovation Challenge grant.
So you need a vote on that?
Yeah.
So, is there a motion?
Second it?
Okay, any questions? Alright. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Next is just, the updated version of the budget message. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I said we wouldn't vote on this tonight, just because we're not a full board. But just go over, make sure that I've found a few typos, that I've captured all the edits that we discussed last week, and then I did, incorporate Kevin's comments in the following ways. One is, in the second paragraph of the background, I put in the, our 6 goals, and that's where there's a lot of capitalization that I need to make consistent. And then I did add a 6th for the board's consideration, 6th piece of the budget message so most of them are focused on, delivery of services and tax rate, infrastructure, and this is basically, continuing to encourage and support participation in town government, and then some text talking about the recognition of how participation in the committees do function to ultimately be very much part of our overall budget picture. So, anybody have any comments,
One thing
suggestions?
on the goals themselves, is
Mhm.
just a suggestion that I think it's good having them there, if we could highlight them maybe, instead of all bunched in a paragraph, so
Put
that
them in a,
here's our thing,
A
1,
bullet.
2, 3, yeah, just so it's clear, cause those, that highlights our goals and helps
Sure.
promulgate them.
Yep. I can bullet those. I was trying to keep it to 2 pages and then it went over
Right,
anyway,
I
so,
figured that's what you're
yeah.
doing.
That makes it easier for the punctuation anyway.
I'm curious on C, Kevin, C for opportunities to involve residents in achieving budgeted objectives. Actually, we do have residents already in committees, so is it redundant?
Well, just encouragement of it, some of them may drop out, get their replacements. Part of this is to show emphasize the importance that these kinds of residents have, not only in our culture, but actually in our budget themselves. If all of the volunteers and residents that participated, didn't show up next week, our government would probably collapse.
Oh, it's true.
And whereas, so that's the
I
idea
would
here
think
is
so.
to put in an emphasis and recognition that this is an inherent part of our culture and our budget and our finances involve citizens participating in our government, or, as you know, Cohasset as we know it wouldn't exist.
Well, it's true, but, they are doing it,
I'm sorry, Martha.
oh, that's okay.
No, I agree with Martha, I mean, as you know, as I stated previously, I really think that this is an inappropriate place to have the goals. I'm more than happy to have it included in the warrant as a message from the Board of Selectmen to the residents of the town, that these are our goals, that this is what we want to foster, but other than the comment that because the volunteerism does, impact the budget in a very, real and positive way, I really don't think that any of this should be in the budget statement itself, but the missions.
So, let me get back to, so you don't agree with having the goals listed?
Correct.
Okay. Just on that, my only issue with having the goals listed, my big issue was that the goals are really kind of functional FY current fiscal year goals, and we're developing a budget message for FY16. So, it is a little incongruous. I tried to write it such that it was, these are, this is what we're operating on right now as a goals and objectives, so clearly they're gonna be informing a budget message. But if the board in general thinks this isn't the place, I would probably be willing to go along with that.
I think it's an important message to be sent, and I'm not opposed to that message being given. I just feel that this is not the proper place for it to be.
Not the vehicle.
A proper vehicle for it, and I do have, it's probably a conversation for another evening, but I agree with Martha, I do have some concerns about C there, because it almost looks as if it's, seeking once again to undermine the, authority of the town manager and the finance team.
I don't see it that way.
I didn't see it that way, I just felt it wasn't necessary, that's
Yeah.
all.
Is this number C under 6?
Yeah,
Correct.
it just isn't
Yeah.
necessary, 'cause
Well,
And I just don't see 6 in the budget message. I see, two equally important but separate messages that are better delivered, in my opinion. It's only my opinion, I'm only one person here, delivered separately. One of the things in advertising that I tell my clients all the time is that when you try to tell everything, you tell nothing.
Less is more.
So,
well, that's
that's
this
the only
happens.
thing.
They
But
do.
I don't wanna belabor the point, but,
Yeah.
in number 4, Diane, I don't know if it grammatically is the same level as the preceding year.
This was we were
I know,
going in circles there,
and
but
I
no,
have to say,
no.
I think you did a really good job in taking all our comments
Yes.
on.
You're very good at that, yeah.
The same level as, yes, that should be an as.
Okay, and then just formatting on A and
Yep, I have all
here
kinds of
and-
formatting issues, so Tracy's gonna have to help me with that.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's, why don't I do 2 things for next week? And, because the budget message, I certainly want Steve here to vote on it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna I'm gonna take Kevin's suggestion and bullet the goals and objectives in one document, and then I'm gonna take them out. I'm gonna recraft that so that the goals, the FY15 goals and objectives aren't in there as a second draft. So we can talk about them next week.
I don't
Talk
think
about
you
the
need to do a
value of
second
it.
draft, Diane, you have enough to do, we can just
Well-
talk about deleting the
All
verb.
I do is go. Alright, well, we can leave it in there and then talk again about deleting it.
You're working double time.
I mean, you may find that it's only me.
And then we'll leave 6 in now and discuss it a little further. If people are rubbed wrong by seek opportunities to involve residents and it messages it all as something negative other than,
Yeah, I mean, I could see.
and we're trying to celebrate
Yeah, right,
they
if,
do.
I mean, if it's disturbing to the board, I don't, but we could take
Yeah.
out C, but
C.
I do wanna keep in the
The
idea.
other
the
things
idea of
are
our
okay.
volunteers,
Yeah, the
uh,
other things are there,
'cause-
utilized files, yeah.
Right, so
Right, so-
I would go with Martha and
Yeah.
we could eliminate C, and,
Okay.
but I'd still like to keep 6 because we need to use these opportunities to promote
Fine.
and, you know, reward
Fine.
those that are volunteering in this town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last night we saw a room full of people.
Well, it's interesting, I think there was one from each committee,
Right, I was
A
pleased.
couple of committees missing, but I'm not gonna
Well,
mention any names.
but it was very, as I say, my son called and he said, I didn't know that we couldn't do this. So
Right.
he immediately called and said, we can't converse.
Yeah.
I said, well, it's too small a
Well, I
committee.
think
You know,
When-
you might learn,
when-
I know he and several others were up there asking follow-up questions, the attorneys,
right.
and every question that they asked and got an answer for improved the quality of the contribution to the town,
Absolutely.
so that was a marvelous thing, and I think citizens appreciated getting those tools and having that
Everybody
recognition.
takes their jobs very seriously.
Oh, they
which
sure
is-
do.
Which is important.
Everybody does, any
Yeah.
committee, little committee,
Yeah.
Karen, did you have?
now that you're into the group, Kevin.
The fabric of the situation.
Fabric of the situation. There was just something I was gonna say about that meeting. Oh, I was talking to, Jen the other day in the office and just saying that, you know, our next, and, you know, depending on what gets ramped up over the next couple of months, and there could be a lot on our plates, the next opportunity will be when we do our little job fair or whatever we're gonna call it at the rec thing, and she suggested that we make up T-shirts that say, "Nothing good happens after 10 p.m." So with that, let's move on in the agenda. So Chris, if I can call upon you to kind of walk us through this, what I would like to do tonight is the articles that are relatively ready, we understand what they're going at, to,
That fits for Tracy.
What's for Tracy, this?
Well, everyone gets, you get one, and then pass the other 4 on.
um,
Yeah, and an extra, so she would have.
just to vote on the ones that we have substantive information on, there are many that we do not, and I would like to propose that we vote on just including certain articles on the warrant.
Okay, so what you have in front of you is a preliminary draft, okay? How we frame some of these may still be, you know, a little bit open, and Mary and I need to sit down, so let me walk them through, and if you have any questions and say pause, that's fine. The first one, and again, these could change in order, right, would be some amendments we need to make to the budget, small amendments. For example, I'm recommending that we put $53,000 in to cover the hydrant fees for the difference in hydrant fee billing that was not taken into account in 2015. That needs to be supplemented in because I don't have it in there. We've had an uptick in veteran service requests this year for support, which is good, except I wanna make sure we're funding. And there's a variety of other small things there. We've had some conservation committee staff changes and a few things. Some of it may, some of the small stuff I probably will just deal with as the year goes on, and we'll deal with it come spring. Something like 53, anytime we get to a 5-digit number, I'd rather deal with it now. And I'll have more detail for you, so I'm not asking you to endorse any particular amount of money, just the concept of having this thing at this point, so that's one. 2 is unpaid bills for previous years. This is pretty much, these are pretty much, done. There's 5 of them, 4 of them are the towns, 1 of them is the sewer commissions.
The 53 for water's there.
Yeah, and that's from 2014. We're doing 2 years worth of this.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, that's why it's 253s. It's from the 14 budget. to
So
15.
Article 1 would actually be amendments to fiscal 2015.
15. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
You're right. That's a mistake. That's 2015 budget. I put these in here just to see how closely you're reading.
I just wanna make sure if we do vote.
And so those total again. The only reason it's of any size is because of the $53,000. Most of the rest of the stuff is little. So and one of them is very little, but it just has to be paid.
Mhm.
The apparel bill there. So
Well, I guess it is an appropriate time to ask, but, like, why are they late?
I don't know. I can tell you whether one for obviously for water is because I didn't know. I wasn't here and
That
didn't
one
know
I
it existed,
understand,
right?
right.
Some of these others, I don't know.
In years past, and I mean, we'll ask these questions when we go to recommend these articles or not, but, sometimes it's just the billing on the part of the vendor.
Right, that does sometimes happen. Again, we're very aggressive closing the fiscal year out as close to July 1 as possible. So if someone's a few weeks late, I mean, we still owe the money, and that does happen sometimes. I mean, it's not very. Again, there's only a handful of these, which is good. And again, whatever we catch now means hopefully we'll have even fewer in the future, right? So when we get to the goal is to have as fewer, little of any by the time we get to annual town meeting. Number 3 is it would be changes, amendments to the capital or capital improvement budget allocations. This is obviously going to have to go through capital budget. Right now, there's 4 that are kicking around as for discussion purposes. One is adding a fire hydrant at Government Island, which does not currently exist and has never existed. But I've talked with the fire chief, and we think it's a good idea.
Oh, yes.
I'm just
there should
trying
be
to.
one.
There's one at the top of the hill. There's always been one at the top of at Water Street, but there isn't one down. And we think, and for the combination, I've talked to the sewer has to do some work there too. So if we do some kind of a combination work, we may get the cost way down. So I'm still working on a cost. There's some leftover money that was allocated to the police department for cell upgrades, and the department desperately needs 2 new radios that have failed. That would just reallocate some money that already existed to this.
Didn't we just buy brand new radios?
Not
No,
there's different radios for different purposes, and these are I think ones that are in the vehicles. So
I heard something different on this cell
on what?
upgrade.
Well, they just upgraded. Remember that was approved a number of years ago. The last piece was completed. There was a new commode in the women's.
For the women, yeah, that's right, they
That's
have to
just-
have a new one.
Just been completed.
He told me it cost $20,000.
No, it didn't. It only ended up. It was originally budgeted 20, but it only cost about $5,000.
Oh, okay, I was,
Right.
because he.
They were very worried about it because it was old plumbing, and they had
Well,
to get
he-
something that
he-
fit.
when I heard something about it, he hadn't gotten the
so it's
5,000
done.
figure, so,
Right.
that's good, that's.
So he'll what's the-
I'm very relieved.
A vehicle that DPW has come off the cycle. It's one of the vehicles that's used by the superintendent among others. So, and he had it for an extremely long time. It actually had crank windows, and it's rotted out. There's nothing. I mean, he's kept it as long as possible. It has nothing to
If
do
the
with windows.
DPW asks for it, it can't be fixed.
Yeah, no,
Right.
no, and that's where it is. So, and he really needs something to get through the winter with. So we need to do something with that. And then again, this is something that we don't know if we'll get funded right now, but the chief, the fire chief, has asked. And again, this all has to go for capital budget. I'm just letting you know that. So I'm just letting it out there now. It's a power. It's a stretcher lift that actually lifts the stretcher into the ambulance. That's one of the biggest injury areas is the pickup. You know, we're all getting a little bigger as a society, and the
Harder
more
to
they
pick up.
pick in, right? And there's it's a power to an extent, but not to get into the vehicle. It's not perfect. So there's a belief that this would cut down dramatically on.
Is there any
In
grant
line.
money for this? The power?
That's what it cost. Again, look, the capital budget may say, we're not. I mean, I think there's. After having talked to the chief, I think there's a compelling case that will save us workers' comp claims based on a review that I've already done on where they're from.
No, I just wondered if they had looked around before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's been looking, but this is
Yeah.
what it is. But you'll get more on this as it goes. The next article would be to move money to stabilization funds. The only number that I have, I think, pretty locked is the $180,000 into OPEB. because that's the savings we had in medical. Mary has an exact number, and I don't have it, I think it's like 184 and change. And we have to just hammer out the other two, or at least the other one. I think it's really just gonna go into stabilization.
Is this money from our free cash?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be
So
the
it's
900
basically the
something.
allocation of,
And how much into the stabilization?
I don't have a number for that yet, I
No.
will.
You just have the.
Yeah, I just have
184.
OPEB, I just have OPEB.
So we won't be voting on this tonight then? Till we
the
have a
only
number,
thing,
right?
we're not voting on
Anything.
the material in any of these articles, we're voting to put them on the warrant.
Oh, yeah,
So
well,
that
that's a
they
separate
can
issue,
start
right.
the
That's right.
process of
Right.
getting through committees.
So this is sort of a preview of what may be
Yes.
coming for our final vote,
Yes.
For a recommendation vote,
for our final recommendation to the town meeting.
yes.
Article 5 combines the two water department capital stabilization requests, which I believe I can put into one, which I'm going to try to. $100,000 that they've requested to use to fund debt service, and 15 for their roof. And they have the funds for both of those.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And again, remember, this is all just this is not complete. So 6 is their request to change their fees to add this $90 per unit per quarter in places that don't already have it. It's really just multiple dwellings that only have 1 meter. And again, the water commissioner will come and talk to you more about that. There's money in the sewer department's retained earnings too, and Mary strongly recommended that they put money into various reserve funds. So that's what this would do. And again, it makes sense.
Yep.
8 would be the establishment of an elder affairs revolving fund, rec has revolving funds and there's some revolving funds in schools, and there's never been one here. And one of the goals has been to enhance and increase our operations of senior program. This doesn't, by the way, this doesn't have to be done right now. I mean, yeah, if we decide not to go forward, we can do it in the spring. It's not absolutely critical, but it would put us in the right footing to, if we're running programs, they should be self-supporting and fund themselves, and that's the theory of it, right? So, as I reported to you, this is number 9. The town won a grant from the state, which Diane was out among others, and it was a grant loan, about $150,850. This would authorize us to enter into the borrowing part of it. Doesn't necessarily require us to do that, but it would authorize the town to do it.
It's 150.
Grant and
Is the
$850
grant.
for the loan.
And then we
And then
do,
the loan is $850.
okay.
And again, we wouldn't necessarily, we don't have to tap it unless we need it, but we need town meeting authorization to proceed.
Well, that project has been in the works for a long time, and it's a very vital project. It's not just fixing the dam, it's making sure that road is safe for vehicles and especially for emergency vehicles. It could be life or death if an ambulance has to go up to Situate and come around.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, we're looking to talking to our financial advisor and all about the process, but that town meeting would have to authorize that. Whether, again, this doesn't mandate that we actually borrow the money, but it gives us the mandate to go ahead and do it. And there's a couple of polies, which again, I'm just hammering down. This is that came out of.
Yeah, we know all about
Right.
that.
No pun intended?
Well, no pun
Experts.
intended. I'm recommending, again, we'll have to talk about this a little bit more in depth, that we, and I have to put language in here, I've been going back and forth with the town council about language, that would basically make our exempt personnel policy like our union, where the town manager is charged with negotiating, and then I come back to you with a proposal. In this case, it would be manuals, you bless them, and that's how it's governed, as opposed to having, literally every holiday in the town bylaws. It would just make management a lot easier and a little more depth, so we can tweak and change things. And I think we can do it, and I think it makes sense. So if you do that, then we'll go forward. Again, we've been operating in breach of the bylaw for at least 17 years. I think it's time to stop. This wouldn't go into effect until the manual would be actually adopted.
Right.
Again, so I prepare it, you look at it, you bless it, and go forward. So that's on that.
That would be a good, I can't say first step, but a good step towards establishing the HR and
Yeah, it gets us cleaner.
it gets us a lot cleaner.
No, that's very good.
And I was looking at the manual just today at lunch, so there's progress being made on all that. So
Okay,
It's
but-
a huge project.
yeah. I can't believe it was 17 years without personnel, because when it ended when I left what we had, but maybe.
Well, when I say 17, that's when the town manager went into place, and that's when,
Right.
but, you know, the bylaw still refers to an executive secretary in some
Right.
places, which hasn't
Yeah, I
existed,
know.
actually even before that, cause it was a town administrator before that, so. You know, it's just time to get clean on some of this stuff. Number 12 is the zoning bylaw amendment that we talked about in that zone.
And we've actually voted
Right,
to
so,
have this
so
on
that,
it.
that's actually already okay, so. The next three, are the petition articles that are already in place. And as you can see, there's a little tiny piece there of open potential articles, which are still open for discussion, so there's nothing formal about those.
So, my, what I would like to do, or like the board to consider, is voting each of these as the title, so we'd be voting for the bond authorization for Brown Brook Dam, not necessarily Article 9.
Right.
Because this will all shift and things may drop off or drop in, but the ultimate goal, and I just wanna make sure we're all on the same page with this, my ultimate goal is to get these articles formed as soon as possible so they can go to the advisory board, and in the case of capital budget, to capital budget.
The capital budget's meeting tomorrow night. I'm gonna do the very best I can to put those 4 items in front of them for, at least to start their conversation tomorrow
Right.
night. And again, I should have some of these others wrapped up in the next, again, I apologize, I was hoping to have it more, unfortunately, Mary and I did not quite, I was out,
No
and
need
she was
to
out.
apologize. It's busy.
But we're close, we are close, so,
And-
and if you'd rather, again, if you, there will be some more details on some of these, the bills are done, I don't think that's gonna change. Yeah, okay,
Well,
bills are
there's
priorities.
probably a lot, Diane, that we
Well,
can
yes.
vote.
Yeah,
Well,
and all we're really voting is
Put them on the
to
ballot.
put them on the warrant.
With these titles. Is that
With
what
these
you're saying?
titles,
Yeah.
right, so
So
there's
that's
all
fine.
the details, we're not endorsing
No,
or
we haven't-
anything.
we haven't done a final
And you
vote.
may, for example, like the personnel bylaw, you may get to the point where it's too complicated and you wanna push it off or not, in which case
I'm
Effectively,
working to try to get it to
you
you
want it
now.
done.
Uh,
That's fine.
But again, if you decide, hey, it's too big a lift for now, I understand that, I just,
Right.
you know, we still have about a week, I think, so.
Okay, so if that's okay with my colleagues, then I would like to suggest an amendment, a motion to include the amendments to the fiscal 2015 operating budget as an article on the special town meeting warrant. If somebody wants to move that,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye, 4-0. Okay, seeking a motion to approve another article to be included on the warrant, and that article would be to cover unpaid bills from previous fiscal years. Is there a motion?
So moved.
second.
All those in favor? Aye. A motion to include an article in the special town meeting warrant for capital improvement budget.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, a motion to include an article, to, allocate funds into various stabilization funds. Is there a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Second?
Second.
Isn't this, but before we vote.
Sure.
Didn't you say you're trying to, can you actually combine it?
Yeah, I think we can, but if,
Yeah. Okay,
we've done
If
all,
not-
we've done them all, and if not, they'll be
Yeah,
separate ones, I'll
right.
come back to you.
yeah, you haven't got the amount in there, that's all
No.
right, okay.
Right.
There's a spelling issue there.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
and I did that, this has to be drafted differently,
Yeah,
I apologize.
That's all right, no, this is just, I wanna get it solidified so
Yeah,
that
no, I
the
understand.
committees can go to their
And-
work,
and
okay.
You'll get the stabilization,
I'll get the numbers for you.
you'll
Yep.
get the numbers,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Alright, so Martha moved it, Kevin seconded, all those in favor? Aye. 1-0. Looking for a motion to include an article to transfer from the water department funds into their capitalization.
That's from there.
From
their water department capital.
the water department, transfer from the water department capital stabilization fund.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. And a, motion to include an article, that is a water department rules and regulations amendment relating to meters. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Seeking a motion to include as an article sewer commission, transfers.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Alright, all those in favor? Aye. You're making me happy, this is good stuff. A motion to include an article, that establishes an elder of funds revolving fund.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
An article, or a motion to include an article that, takes care of the bond authorization for the Brown Brook Dam. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Karen, did you say aye?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's, I'm lying over here.
I know.
Come on to police.
Thank you. Yes, excellent, our favorite topic.
Yeah.
Can't wait for this one.
Motion to include, I'm gonna go talk really fast. Motion to include an article, relating to various pole easements. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No more polls.
Do you wanna wait on this next one, and give me time to do
Personnel.
something more concrete? I mean,
No.
alright,
Can you do it in
Because
your
you-
To
schedule?
put it on, we can.
right, that's true, you
You
can
can do
always
it.
take it off.
Yeah.
We can always take it off,
Alright.
right. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that might hit a roadblock at some point or another,
True.
and we just
True.
take it off. But this, at least, if you've got it ready, it can go to advisory, and they can start talking about it. So a motion to include an article, proposing a personnel bylaw change.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor? Aye, and just on that, the bylaw committee, I sent Carol an email about it because the terms haven't, we may need to reform it, but they need to look at all the bylaw changes, so.
You've already voted
They
on,
actually, they have to look at the warrant, I believe.
Yeah.
The warrant too.
the 12's already voted on, and the other 3 petition articles are already on,
Right.
so, you know,
Okay.
that's it.
Alright, so that's it for now, there may be others, but at least these are,
That's it.
these, assuming they flesh out and they meet with council's approval or whatever, are gonna go forward and the other committees can begin to discuss them.
I have been
Thank
looking, thank you.
Thank you.
I have been, checking on, to make sure we can, dredging, I think we're okay, with the existing town meeting approvals. So I'm just trying to dot the i's across the t's now. Okay, so, if there's any, I'll move around to a quick report.
So can I just
actually-
say, I'm gonna just
Sure, go
jump on, so I think what you were just saying is you're assuming that our previous approvals,
No, I'm not assuming, I've spoken with one of our councils who said it does.
we're all set, so there's not gonna be any article
I just wanna
related
make sure
to
that there's
future
nothing
dredging.
else that I'm.
What
Right.
about the easements?
Yeah, no, again, the town meeting authorization last year approved, there was no time frame on it, it simply said approving for the twenty
Right, but
fourteen
like the
dredging
Sandy
project.
Beach Association easement, does that have to be redone?
Well, yeah, in front of you it does, I mean, the town meeting authorization was for a project that still exists, it's been delayed, but it's the same project.
Right, right.
But yeah, actually, the easements have to come back in front of you to tweak the times, because they're not gonna, we have to move them.
They're not easements in
14,
perpetuity.
15,
Yeah.
right, they have to be 15, 16, so I've asked Brian to work on that so we can get that expeditiously done, so that it's all, the package is all done, now we're gonna go out to bed as soon as possible in 2015. So the goal is to get a contractor on site, or to get a contractor online, on bid as soon as possible.
Just quickly, if I may, on the dredging, since looks like it is gonna be delayed and so forth, should we get some kind of an assessment or something, or, I don't know whether the harbor master can, or have somebody speak to us about, and give us information as to you know, what the implications are, that there may be a 6 or 8 month delay. Should we make that inquiry? Because,
That's a
I
good,
did hear some of the fishermen were concerned that they may not be able to fish if this
Yeah,
goes on
that's
for another.
right.
So
Well-
perhaps we should at least have an expert come and let us know. you
well,
know.
that's what I had asked Chris to update us with, during the comment period. I was
Tonight?
asking, yes, I was asking, you don't have to listen to me, it's okay, nobody else does either.
No,
I feel like the Rodney Dangerfield of the Board of Selectmen. But,
Triple Lindy.
it was such a good idea, I wanted to repeat it.
yeah, that's good, that's good.
All right.
Because I think that there are, some things have been circulating within the community which have some basis in truth and some basis in how stories get going as they get told, and it really is a very serious issue. It's serious for the harbor master, for public health and safety, it's important for the fishing fleet, it's of concern to recreational boaters, but the primary concerns here should be health and safety with the harbor master and our fishing fleet. So, those are the, and I think that people, it's, again, information changes as it, you know, that children's game, it starts out at one thing and by the time it gets to the end of the line, it's something else. So I think it would behoove us to make sure that we get a very clear message out to the public as to why this happened, what the implications are, what we've done, because I know that things have been, you know, can we have some interim, you know, solutions, and it's gonna take as long for the interim solutions as it is to have it rebid again. So just to reiterate those things, I know that you've said them before, but sometimes people need to hear them multiple times.
And if I can add on that,
Sure.
I would want him to identify who is the expert that can tell us what the status is, and I'd like to hear from him.
That's right.
So is it the harbor master, does the harbor master,
Oh,
I don't know, I mean, you know, is it
Well, I mean-
somebody, who is it that says, okay, I've gone out there and I've looked and we've 10 feet, I don't know the details of this, but we should have an expert tell us what the status is.
The harbor master can most certainly give you, she knows the harbor as
Yeah.
well as anybody. She can most certainly explain the conditions and what and she, by the way, she's been working, she always has a contingency plan just in case, right? So she's prepared to handle and deal with it as it goes, she's already thinking about it, or actually has been thinking about it just in case. So those things you pull out of the drawer when you don't want to, but you're ready. So once again, this is an Army Corps of Engineer project, it's not a town of Cohasset project, but it's an Army Corps of Engineer project. And you know, everything was going along smoothly and fine, all the I's were dotted, all the T's were crossed, and everything went out to bid. The problem is that no bids were received, and the Army Corps was as surprised as anybody. And I'm summarizing, I'm kind of squishing this down. And they went back and they called the people who had expressed an interest in bidding and said, what's going on? And in some, what happened was Nemo and Sandy, and storms, Nemo and Sandy, and others, that have done amazing havoc on the beaches of the Northeast. And what's happening is that in a normal cycle, as it was explained in an email that I received from the Army Corps, normally you have maybe 5 or 5+ dredging projects teed up for this time of year in this region. Now it's 15 to 20. And as a result, and there's only so much dredging capacity. So people don't have to, number one, they don't have to go very far. Number two, they're all busy. So, and some of these projects are big projects that have been going on for a long time. So, you know, the restoration of Rockaway Beach or digging out the Jersey Shore, equipment that might otherwise have been available, or it might have made economic sense for them to come up here. They don't have to do that right now, or they can't. So, you know, and according to the Corps, several other projects got, you know, one bid, which is also, you know, not necessarily the most economically feasible thing on the planet. So that happened in Narragansett, Rhode Island, and that happened
in Maine.
in
someplace
Maine.
in
I want to say
they got 2 bids in Maine and
and one. I think the Rhode Island had one. So you know, they were unhappy and surprised, and they did their due diligence. And again, it was nothing about the project. It was nothing about anything here. It was just a matter of just the unfortunate timing and the fact that, you know, there's a lot of other restoration, harbor restoration, and beach restoration going on in the Northeast.
Well, what about the economic for the people like the fishermen? That, I think,
So on a parallel, exactly, Martha, so on a parallel, so we have two tracks. One is to aggressively work with the Army Corps to make sure that we're teed up first in line for 2015, first in line. Second, to work with Congressman Lynch's office, and Diane and I have been talking about this, to work with Congressman Lynch's office to identify any opportunities that might exist, and work with the Army Corps as well, to either to see what else is out there. Again, both from a, is there anything that could be done, and again, the Army Corps at this point is as I think I mentioned last time, there's all kinds of rules. Even emergencies have rules. And the emergency process, from what was laid out to us, would take as long or longer than we're already teed up. I mean, the project's all teed up. All it needs to do is go out to bid and then be done. An emergency process has to go through all kinds of other steps. One of the things about our project is there's an on-site. The water is going to be, the sand is going to be a beach rest. It's going to be it's going to be the proverbial win-win. Clean the channel, replenish sandy beach. An emergency project would not be able to do that. The sand would have to go somewhere else, and then you'd have to have a dredging disposal site. Those are, there's not like there's a place waiting just to take the dredged spoils, at least not in this area part of the country. So that's just it's an unfortunate but a reality that we're confronting. But there are genuine economic impacts of the fishing fleet, which we're most certainly concerned about, and we're going to actively work with Congressman Lynch's office and anyone else to say, hey, what can we do here for them? And number two, the public safety aspect, because we want to make, right now, the Cohasset Harbor Master doesn't just handle the immediate environs of Cohasset, but patrols effectively from Hull to Situate, because of the way Hull is configured, big peninsula. The Hull Harbor Master happens to be based on the bay side, not the ocean side, so the Cohasset Harbor Master responds to calls all along this front, for miles up and down the water here. So we need to, and Lori knows that, she's prepared to do what she has to, but it may require her even anchoring a boat outside the cove, so that she's not stuck inside.
But she's an excellent harbor master.
Yeah.
So those are the two parallel tracks. Aggressively working with the Army Corps to make sure we're teed up first in line for the next cycle here. At the same time, seeing if there's any kind of emergency assistance of any kind, to see what's out there, to shake the trees.
And I did reach out to the guy I know pretty well at Congressman Lynch's office, and he immediately forwarded it to the person that deals with dredging and waterways, so she just hasn't gotten back to us, but I made it sound like it was kind of a crisis for us, and we needed some answers as to what possible mitigation could be put in place.
So it's something that we are going to be. I talked with Lori just this afternoon. So we're talking about this really almost every day, and we will continue to work aggressively. Now, again, if it requires more phone calls or reaching out, that we will.
I think it very thoroughly covers it. I want to just make sure, this to me is like you were lined up for a hat operation, and then you were told, well, okay, you can't have your hat operation, you gotta wait 6 months. I think the first question someone might have is, well, could I die during that 6 months, or how sick can I get? So what I'm not hearing, that I do wanna hear is while we're waiting 6 months or a year, we don't wanna wake up some morning and 3 fishermen's boats are destroyed, whatever bad thing can happen from that, or we can't do that, so I think we need to have an expert so that we have some visibility as to what the danger is here, because if we do, then we have that in data form, then we can really preach to the congressman or the whatever and get access. So I'd like more clarity on what the danger is here, and I think someone should give us a report on that if we're responsible for it.
Well, really, the harbor is the harbor master's.
I mean, I'm happy to. I mean, by the way, this has been studied intensely, Kevin. So we have the whole packet talks about why this project was important in the first place, and the fact that the channel has not only shifted, but it's shallowed. It's shifted and shallow. Bassett's Beach is kind of encroached, and the sandbars extended. And the goal was to reset it back to a more historic place. If you actually look at a chart, at low tide, the channel is a beach in parts of it, not all of it, but parts of it. So the channel is effectively it's gotten narrower and shallower, and I will ask Lori to come in and do a report, and if I can get, somebody from the Army Corps, and I can't promise you that, but they're all over the place, but I will try to get someone to come in and maybe talk about the process.
As I understand it, at this point, the problem is that on a low tide, some of the fishing boats cannot get back into the harbor, nor would the harbor master be able to get the Parker back into the harbor. So, I believe that Lori is working with the fishermen already to determine some, safety issues, what they can do, if they were to come in and they've missed the tide, you know, where are they gonna go, what are they gonna do, where they could lay up safely. And for herself, as Chris has mentioned, that she may have to do the same thing. And if she were out on a call and couldn't get back into the harbor, she may just have to put the Parker right up on Sandy Beach, you know. And,
The big concern is really, apart from you can think of it as on the Southeast Expressway, right? Think about they're doing construction and you're down from 3 lanes to 1. That's problem number 1, right? Problem number 2 is that, you're bottoming out. So think of a shallow, you're bouncing on potholes or something, right? That's effectively, certain vehicles at certain times of day you can't get through that. So you have to shift so basically, we know the tides are the most, we know the tides, we know what cycle they are. So,
You know the depth.
they know the depth, they know the window. Now, again, the big variable though is storms, right?
Mhm.
What can happen over the winter? A storm could be beneficial, a storm could be destructive. And the harbor happens to be aligned northeast, just the way it works. The breakwater does protect, but so let me see if I can get Lori in. And again, as updates, as I know things, Kevin, we'll most certainly continue to update everybody because I know how important it is to the fishing fleet, to Lori, and to the community as well.
yeah, I think it's important, just, if I might reiterate, just because of some of the comments I received, to reiterate that the harbor master is working just as hard as she possibly can, and working with the fishing fleet to resolve the issues that they might have. And that, in fact, the harbor master's been working on this dredging project for 8 years. And so there's nobody more disappointed than her. And,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, no, this has been teed up. This is just.
and it's something that really nobody could control. You can't control whether businesses are gonna bid on a project or not. You can't make people bid on something, so.
The funding's still in place though. This is, the money is good. And again, the Army Corps is paying for 100% of this, to be absolutely clear about this, right? We're putting some money in to help move some boulders and things around to help make it look better. But it's 100%. It's 100% federally funded. So,
Good.
Which is good. So a couple other quick things. So that's the dredging. Another water issue. Aquarium today placed a ban on outdoor irrigation system operation for the remainder of the season. So the residents of North Cohasset are part of the aquarium district may not use outdoor irrigation systems. They can still water by hand, and hopefully this rain will be helping everybody anyway. But they have reached another point of capacity issues, and I know that their PR person did try to call me earlier, and I have not been able to talk to her. So I do want to know more about it. They reiterated in the message they left me that fire service is fine, everything is fine from a water pressure point of view. They're doing this to be cautious, and because the drought has not, or the extreme, I don't think we're officially in a drought, but the very dry conditions have not lifted, and the weather's been nice, so people continue to watering, the plants are still growing, and this time of year, water usage usually drops as irrigation systems get shut down. Our own reservoir is low too. I've been out there, I know others have been out there to see it. So that's happened, we're gonna stay in touch with them. Right now, our water department has done no such thing, and I've not heard any reports that they plan to, so.
We talked about that a little bit during Selectman comment period when we went to take a call, and I think they're meeting on Thursday, so hopefully that's something for Tuesday to get an update. It would be great to have water commissioners.
Good long slow rains are helpful for everybody, right? So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's the only way, if we'd gotten a hard rain, it would have just run off,
Right,
so.
right. So this will
it's a good
help,
thing.
reset the water levels, I hope. I just, well, it'll start. It's
It'll
a start.
soften the ground.
Again, I just wanted to piggyback on what Karen said earlier with the Jacobs Meadow meeting. I was not able to be there, but I understand it was a great meeting. The community did have a great opportunity to participate. I know that everybody's not, is not completely excited. But we got some very good public comments, and the staff is working very hard to address resident concerns. In fact, Brian was out there resetting the gate today. So I know they're planning over the winter to reduce the level in the meadow because, again, plants shut down, so there's no real point in having it high in the winter time. It doesn't help. That was good. There was an emergency generator drill over the weekend too, talking about emergencies. At 4 town buildings, everything went very well. Hopefully we'll never need to use them, but it's good to know that they're there and they work. Including one, by the way, at the housing
At
authority.
the housing authority. And they finally got the radios fixed.
Yeah.
They can communicate with
And
one
they-
another.
That's very good.
Yeah, they literally did a whole rollout of emergency, what would happen, they all know where to go to turn electricity off, put generators on, that kind of thing, so.
It's good, cause you wanna be able to do it reflexively if anything ever happened, you wanna know it works.
Right. It's
Uh,
amazing, I mean, I have to put a plug in for the CERT, team in town, and I know they do retrain every year, new people, it's, I'm almost jealous, I don't have enough time to do it, they really learn how to respond, they learn the communication, system, they learn how to shut down, shut off, get the generators going, it's just really amazing, they learn medical, just general medical, response, so.
Two more quick public works things, the landfill gas vent upgrades to landfill will take place this week, in fact, I think they start tomorrow. So that's part of our permit requirement anyway, but it's good, it's gonna just enhance the methane collection and release the system, so it's good, it's important, and it's for maintaining safety, there's no problems, but it was important to have done. Road repaving, I think the full road repaving is mostly wrapped up at this point, I think pretty successfully, there's still some tweaks, I know, but Summer, Lower Pleasant, Cushing, Lower King have all been repaved, and there's still a possibility, depending on scheduling and weather, that we might be able to get some work done on Beechwood as well, but we'll see, so that's still, if it can come together, it'll happen, and there'll be more on that as we go. And my second round of procurement training was last week. So I learned all there is to know about design, procurement, and building construction and public works construction. So it was excellent training. It's very disruptive to my schedule to be in Boston.
But we have you here for a while now.
Yeah. My next round is not till January. So, but it was very. The Inspector General does a great job. The training is great. I was with colleagues who do purchasing all around the region, and they do a parallel course in Huntington, which is way out west from what I see. But just today, Carol and I were sitting down over a bid, and the knowledge I now have, I walked her through. I made a phone call to someone I met, whose card I got. We got an answer, and we moved ahead. So it paid for itself already. So I didn't get my score this time with this. So we'll see. I know I'd take another test. This is a 50-question test. This time.
50 questions, well,
Yeah, 50
you get 100
questions.
on that, it'd be pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I'm not holding my breath on that.
All right,
It was a little tougher, but that was really back to school. 50-question test.
Yeah.
So that's my quick update.
Okay. So we're gonna move on to approval of, discussion of the minutes of 9:23. And, the wrong set of minutes.
I didn't see anything. I had a couple of things, and Tracy, I don't know what the tape says, but it just, under the first one, topics, not recently, it says, Lucas device does CPR, compressions without getting tired. I was wondering if there was some way to indicate in there that it does mechanical CPR or something, and then, there are 15 communities applying for this grant. He's hoping Cohasset will get 2. If there's something in there that could be added, there are 15 communities applying cooperatively, so that it doesn't read that
Oh, it's a
it's
competitive thing.
Competitive thing.
competitive.
Yeah. Jointly.
Yeah, jointly, whatever. And then under the Selectman update, the 5th line from the bottom, discuss water levels.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little typo.
Levels, I was, actually I saw
You know,
that, and I was
the
wondering
fact that
if I knew.
that's all there is.
The secret word of
It's
lever, the
amazing.
leverage, the lever.
Yeah,
the lever.
well, yeah, I thought maybe
I'd have had
I
to
missed
talk
it.
about that.
I did see that.
Okay, any
And that
other
was all I
changes?
had. I continue to be amazed and grateful at how quickly and efficiently Tracy gets these out.
absolutely
Very good.
fabulous, thank you.
They were right up to date.
Yes, we are.
Signed.
Right up.
No, I signed them all.
Okay,
Not
Anyone wa-
executives, but.
anybody wanna move the, approval of the minutes from September 23rd
As amended.
as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is approved for nothing, I don't have any, actually, I just found in my folder, I'm gonna just take it up under topics not reasonably anticipated, although it's not much of a topic, it's just, Chris, you might wanna piggyback on this, just this letter from the Department of Environmental Protection. I don't know if it just came to me as chair or it came to everybody, but it just says, "Dear Ms. Kennedy, congratulations. It is my pleasure to inform you that the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection has awarded recycling dividend funds to the town of Cohasset under the Sustainable Materials Recovery Program. The town of Cohasset has earned 13 points and will receive $5,200.
Excellent.
Good,
Every little bit helps.
good.
So it just continues to describe the program.
I was at a workshop with Mary Snow and Brian Joyce earlier this year when they unveiled this. It's a new program, and it's incentive money that's based on how well you're performing. So the more points you get, the more money you get. So that was actually for our size town. That's actually a nice amount of money. Now it has to go towards recycling activities. So and it's fairly broad area that we could work towards, and some of this, and we explored, the possibility of searching other grants out in the future. And so that was a great, that's testament to the fact that Carl and his team up there do a really good job, and that the community participates strongly in it, which
Yeah.
and this again, it's a positive feedback loop, right? We do good work, we receive dividends, we do better
We
work.
keep doing it, yeah.
Exactly.
Great circle life, okay.
So thanks for bringing it up.
All right, I think we have covered it all. I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.